Hi, I'm Matthew Blades, host of Learn from People Who Lived It. And when I left radio, I knew I wanted to do things differently. And one of the things that I heard consistently over my almost 3 decades behind the mic was how much people hate commercials. I get it. Let's do things a little bit differently. Can I just tell you quickly about a few people that are supporting our movement, and then we'll get right to Learn from People Who Lived It. Since the very beginning, we have been supported by the woman-owned Advanced Systems Integration. ASI is an audio-visual integrator. They've got offices in Minnesota and Scottsdale. Now, if you're the IT director or you're on the IT staff and you need to build out anything from a collaboration system to sound masking to a classroom to a boardroom to council chambers to a courtroom, that's what they do. And they pay really special attention to that last 5%, which is the most annoying. Let's be honest with each other. And they do such a great job. So you can visit them online at asi-av.com to see their gallery of work. And then I also want to say congratulations to the Mulhausen Group and the new homeowners, Tanya and Troy. 19 offers on the table, and TMG won the deal with passion and a creative strategy. See what your home is worth and why all of their business is referral-based at tmgphoenix.com. Okay, let's get right to this episode of Learn from People Who Live.
All I think about these days, all I think about these days is getting at that goal that's in my heart. I need a reason to believe in maybe a cure for my disease.
Welcome to another episode of Learn from People Who Lived It.
What seems like the most logical, natural place to start for you, Troy?
You know, I think about a lot of times when we're raising a family, how so often we're not content. We're always striving to do more, striving to be better. We're always working to be better or working to do more, to make more money, to buy that bigger house, to drive that shinier car. So our model, the way I look at it, is our model is really linear in this world, where that success is always what eludes us, that we'll be happy when we have that new car, or when we have that bigger house, or when my child gets that scholarship, or I'll be happy when. And it's always delayed. It's always in the distance. I look at the indigenous model and how the circle plays such a prominent role in their culture. And when we take a look at that circle, and when even as we sit here, or as I sit here in Sedona, and the big thing around Sedona is the vortex and this energy, which is very circular, and it's a spiral. And to me, that reflects that happiness, that peace, which in my mind is winning. I am winning when I can respond to events and not react based on the chaos around me or based on all of the things I need to do in my life, or that I tell myself that I need to do in my life in order to be a success. I find that when I can sit back in my chair and rather than chase the cat.
I love this. Go. It's an awesome story. Tell it.
Well, if you're chasing the cat, which can be that shinier car and that bigger house and that more money, the bigger salary, whatever it is that you're chasing in life. And if you ever chase that cat and you catch that cat and you bring that cat up into your arms, you may wish that you actually hadn't caught that cat, because now you got to deal with it. And you might get scratched and clawed and bit. And then what? So then do we drop that cat and go on to the next one, because that's going to tell us that we're happiest? And when we decide that we're not going to chase that cat anymore, before long, what happens is that cat jumps right up into our lap. And that's when we know it's right. When that cat jumps into our lap and that cat is ours. That's what comes to my mind when I think about what it means to win. Understanding, we've got career ambitions and we've got kids that we want to see succeed. And we've got things that we want, out in the distance, whatever that is. But to not base our happiness on when we receive it.
To me, what that means is, all right, I'm going to set an intention right now. This Saturday, I'm going to be in the car with my son or my daughter. I'm going to have 30 minutes. there's this thing I've been wanting to talk to him about. And this weekend, I'm just going to bring it up and I'm just going to do it. And I'm just going to talk to him about it. To me, that seems like the real world application of this thing, because those things that we hold on to, you know, I have kids, you have kids. There's things you think about all the time that you want to say to them. You just know that if you were to flood them with 100% of your information, they would listen to none of it. So, you know, you have to choose your moments with your kids and what they're going to retain and what you're going to say to them, right? But we kind of hold on to things that we really want to start telling our kids. And listen, that's your job, right? That is your job, in my opinion, is to parent with a sense of urgency. You know how I look at this thing, Troy, right? Like, what if next Thursday's not here? Yeah. And so I'm about those lessons. I'm about those talks. I'm about having those moments with your kids. And so I encourage more moms and dads to set intentions. And when you get a little 30-minute nugget with your kids this weekend, take it and actually use it for something. Get something off your chest. Move something off your plate that's been hanging out for a little while.
Having those conversations, to me, what helps really to reduce the stress in a parent's life is to making sure that they have a list of all those things that are truly their priority. You know, and I don't think that we need to develop a list of 10 things.
Right.
It's really, at the end of the day, what is your priority? Taking care of yourself as a priority, rather than running around trying to please everybody all day, every day, and to be superhuman. What about, and I think you'll know what I'm talking about, what about parents who get in that moment where they're like, well, listen, you know, I had a kid and now my life is about them and getting them to achieve everything that they need. And all I want to do is be here to support them. But then what you end up doing is something I call family suicide, where you put so much stuff on the plate that it becomes impossible to have moments together. You all the little things that matter in life kind of fall by the wayside. And so what do you say to somebody who's like, yeah, that sounds fine and dandy, but life's just going to be busy for a little while while my kids are in things and while my kids are doing things? There's no question that life is going to get busy, especially with the kids that are involved in all the various things that they're involved in. That said, it's also important, I think, to model for them a sense of presence, of peace, and of support and encouragement. And we can do that through, you know, just simple 3-minute exercises that get us connected within ourselves, so that when we're truly connected within ourselves and we feel centered and we feel like we're not going to get rocked either way. Like I've been thinking about equanimity. And this idea that right or wrong, good or bad, it's how we respond in the face of adversity. It's that sense of unwaverable connection to who we are and our ability to respond to whatever situation or adversity appears in our life. Okay, real world application. Shall we go? Because what you're saying makes me think about this. Okay, I just had an incident last night in my car, so this is a great time to talk about this. I have a teenage son, and he wants to go hang out with his buddies, and they want to do a certain thing, and my answer was no. And then he kept pushing, and my answer was no. And then he kept pushing, and then my answer was a very loud no, right? And then it turns into one of those things where you get really upset, and the next thing you know, you've got a raised voice, and the way I look at it, at least, now you're this big old mean monster coming down on this little child, trying to convince them that you're right. And while you very well may be right, is this the behavior that you're trying to model right here? What comes to my mind, Matthew, is boundaries. Yes. You're establishing a boundary with your son. And oftentimes we say no, and we don't provide the context or the why. Yes. And sometimes explaining that why helps them to connect with what is going on with you. Otherwise, they're just going to turn and they're going to blame and they're going to say, you're a jerk. When the reality is you were establishing a boundary, you had your reason. And so oftentimes when we establish these boundaries, especially our kids, they're going to continually test those boundaries. And they're going to try and really move you off center to get to what it is they want to do. Mm-hmm. If we look at it as a parent, when we establish a boundary, that no is like, it means no. And I don't owe anyone an apology or even necessarily an explanation.
Sure.
Why? If I want to provide that for my kids, I can, but the reality is no. And that is my boundary. And so when we establish those boundaries within ourselves, it's how connected and rooted we are in that process of establishing that boundary, because then it's about enforcing it. After the establishment of the boundary, then we enforce it. And how do we go about enforcing it? And like we said, we can get louder, or we can just simply not respond, because that is our boundary. And it's our job as parents to establish safe boundaries for our kids.
Yeah. And I like your idea of explaining. We're a big explaining family too. It's like, hey, I'm not just trying to be a jerk and hold you from these experiences. Here's the reason why. And actually, I think it's a pretty valid reason. And you don't have to like it right now. That's what I told my son last night. You don't have to like this. You don't even have to like me right now. But this is the boundary. This is the no, and we're going to live with it. And so I'll see you tomorrow morning. Good night.
Right.
What can you do?
Yeah. And establishing those boundaries, it transfers over to the rest of the world. Yeah. How we work with our coworkers, how we work when we're dating, how we work with our significant other. It's how we teach the world how we deserve to be treated. If it feels off, or it doesn't feel good, if it feels yucky, then there's something going on that we need to establish a boundary, because maybe we're having a boundary that's crossed.
Yeah.
So we need to be firm with our boundary, knowing that it's for us, and it's teaching the world how we deserve to be treated.
Thank you for listening to Learn from People Who Lived It. A reminder again that ASI, or Advanced Systems Integration, designs and installs cutting-edge audio and visual equipment. This woman-owned small business is big enough to find an AV solution for your next boardroom, classroom, council chambers, or courtroom. Bring in ASI and 2 decades of AV experience. Visit ASI-AV.com to see their gallery of work.
We have 3 goals with Learn from People Who Lived It. 1. To help you feel less alone. 2. Encourage you to seek out a coach, a therapist, a church, anyone who can help you get through your journey and find some healing. 3. When you're ready, share your story with us.
She bit my heart, she didn't break it. Well, she took a big bite, said it tastes like bacon. Lips like Presley, moves like Elvis. You forget about your heart when she shakes her pelvis. Hey. Oh, we got nights to dream and wings to fly. Still young, but not tonight. I wouldn't have it any other way. We got gravy boats and mortgage payments. It's been so long since I've seen the rain. It's where I'll be when I die. It's where I'll be when I die. We got nights to dream and wings to fly. We're still young, but not tonight. I wouldn't have it any other way.